to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
Hi, I'm Jeremy Schnell here from Miami, and things aren't going so well down here, Robert. Man, the Dolphins have a lot of problems going on, and we'll talk about that and a lot much more here on Deits Sports Talk.
Yeah, I'm Jeremy Schnell. Welcome into the show, my co-host for today. And a beautiful day, some problems in Miami, but there's always going to be problems anywhere in the sports world. And Jeremy, Richie Incognito has been the biggest talk, the issue for the Dolphins. Now, since you're our Miami Dolphins insider, Jeremy, I'm going to go to you first. You got to explain this whole story, and then we're going to be debating this the whole time, or most of the time probably.
This story is such a long story. You want to hear my what I think really happened in this story? What in spite of what everybody on the national media is telling everyone? You want to hear my insight and see what I think really happened?
Yes, we want to hear every single word you have to say.
All right, so I think Richie Incognito is just one of those guys who likes to play around with people, and I think Jonathan Martin was just one of those guys that he likes to play around with. And what really happened was, so Jonathan Martin, he was in the lunchroom, or the cafeteria if you want to call it, and his offensive line was already sitting down. He came over with his tray, and as he was about to sit down, the whole offensive line stood up and walked away. And Ryan Tannehill in his press conference today said that prank has been done many times to himself before, and it's just one of those pranks that happens all the time. And I think Jonathan Martin had been bullied so much in the past by Mr. Incognito that he just couldn't take it anymore, and this was the final straw. So he slammed down his tray and he walked out, and it's been a story ever since.
I look at this story, and this is, I've read a lot about it. It's very confusing, still to this day. I mean, looking at it, I watch, ESPN, I watch Sports Nation, I watch PTI, I watch Mike and Mike in the morning, and all these debates have gotten to me. But when you look at it, there's two ways you could have handled this. You could have gone head on to your coach and talk about it, talk about what's bothering you, what's going on, what's the off-field issues. But then when you look at the other way you take it, you just walk away. Then Richie Incognito gets in trouble, and it just makes situation even worse. And this is the interesting part. I read the article about how teammates support Richie Incognito and Jonathan Martin in both situations. But Richie Incognito is a type of guy that is a funny guy in a way, and that's what's been really the interesting part about all of this. And Mike Wallace
really
saying,
is one of those, yeah.
But what Mike Wallace has said for being, his first year part of the Dolphins, that Richie Incognito is a funny guy. And listening to him, I've listened to his radio stuff, and he's been on interviews, and hearing that, he has a good sense of humor. And also his team saying that he's not racist either. And that's what's been a big argument too. Jeremy, I'm going to ask you, do you think that Richie Incognito, after his teammates saying he is not racist, is he racist?
I mean, I don't really think so, because what I read in a column today It was in the Sun Sentinel. It was the Miami Herald, and it was this guy who said that teammates called Richie Incognito the black-white guy on the team, if that makes any sense. So they gave him permission to use that type of language in that phone call that he made to Jonathan Martin. And even though that those words that he said may not be okay, you don't know what that locker room is like. You don't know if he says that word over all the time, and if that is accepted in that type of atmosphere with the Miami Dolphins. And and when Ryan Tannehill said today how Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito are like brothers, he said that today, and they were like brothers. And so maybe Incognito thought that he can talk to Jonathan like that, seeing as if they were one of those, like if they were really good friends, you know what I mean? And it's sad to see how this is all unfolding, because the national media is going to bring it all out and say, like, oh, this is not okay that he said all this. Well, look at it on the other side. You don't know what this locker room is like. You don't know what these players' friendships are like. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, maybe this is all being blown out of proportion a little bit.
And I also read another article, and Martin, his former college, Stanford. Andrew Luck talked to him, Zach Ertz. You got David DeCastro. And, everyone checked up on him. And this is what's interesting about what David DeCastro said. I just called him to make sure he was alright, he said. I could care less about football. I just want to make sure he was okay as a person. And he is, so that's good. And that's what's important. And they also asked about the desire of football, and he said that that's up to him. Now, when you go out to the football field, you gotta be the toughest guy out there. You gotta act like you're tough. You gotta act like you're one of the best guys out there. Is that what you think Richie Incognito was trying to get Jonathan Martin to be?
I don't know, because if you're 6'4" and over 250 pounds, you are already a tough person, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, if I was that big, I would think I'm tough. I think I'm a tough guy, but, I wouldn't, I guess I wouldn't overemphasize it in any way, but also you look in real life society, and, there's just those big bullies, but they have their weak side. There's always a weak side. And, can you relate this to real life, Jeremy? You look at it, I think some schools, some kids' bullies just have that feeling inside of them that just makes them to, break down. I think that's maybe what happened to Martin, I guess. That's just a guess. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I made that comparison last week on my show on Wednesday on the Coast to Coast show. And I said, this is something that you see in high schools. You don't see in NFL locker rooms and NFL cafeterias. You don't see this happen. And, it's unfortunate that people do that in high schools, but it's because kids are immature, and I don't think NFL players are immature. They're adults. They should be able to handle this type of stuff. And, Jonathan Martin could be a little bit to blame for this becoming a whole big story, because if he didn't slam down his tray and walk out of that locker room, if he didn't walk out of that cafeteria and out of that facility, then this wouldn't have been a story. This would have been nothing. If he had just gone to Mr. Philbin and talked to Mr. Philbin about it, I feel like it would have been, nobody would have known about this. This would have been nothing.
Yeah, this would have been nothing at all. We wouldn't be talking about this right now. And I feel bad for the Miami Dolphins organization right now. Especially especially the Dolphins are dealing with a lot right now, and they have to deal with the media every day about hearing about Richie Incognito and Jonathan Martin. But the situation results, I think this could go both ways. And, listening to Mike and Mike this morning, there is a huge debate. I just can't believe there is arguing involved. And, the one side that I heard was that Richie Incognito is trying to help out the team players, toughen up and everything. And we assumingly, as you said before the show, that we don't know the coaches asked Richie Incognito to toughen him up. but also not taking it so far that Jonathan Martin would leave the team emotionally. It's just, the situation has put everyone in circles, and as you said, bullying is not supposed to, there's hazing the rookies, putting jokes and pranks. I mean, when bullying comes involved, I think you have to be prepared for that, especially when you're in the NFL. You gotta be prepared. You gotta be a man. You gotta be straight up a man about it. And I thought that, your even if you play Pee-wee, high school, college, and then you go to the NFL level, those levels before the NFL prepare you for that.
Mm-hmm. And so to go back to what I was trying to say earlier, the on the field, before this even happened, Jonathan Martin got in a scuffle in practice with Deion Jordan, the defensive lineman, the rookie defensive lineman for the Dolphins, and they were pushing and shoving and stuff. And the first person to come to Jonathan Martin's defense was, guess who?
I don't know. I didn't actually read about that, but
Richie Incognito.
Richie Incognito
was the first person to come to Jonathan Martin's defense. And then a couple hours later, it was all like, it all went downhill after that. I mean, he was defending him 2 hours earlier, and then he was making fun of him the next. Like, what? I don't understand how you could do that to someone. I just don't. Both players are in the wrong in this type of situation, but the person who is in the most trouble, I think, will be Richie Incognito.
But I don't understand if you stand up, because Richie Incognito considers Martin as his little bro, in a way, and he stood up for him in practice. Why would Martin do that to Richie Incognito then?
I don't know. You see, that's what I'm saying. How if he didn't walk out and just talk to one of the coaches about it, it would have been a non-story. And maybe he did talk to one of the coaches about it. That would be something that was really bad. Like if he did talk to one of the coaches, I don't think this would have carried on for much longer. So that's why I don't think he did. But if he did, this is a huge issue.
Oh, this has still been a huge issue. And, I also read that Richie Incognito might not be coming back to Miami.
I don't think he will. After all is said and done, I don't think he'll play another snap in the NFL.
Really?
Yeah,
you really don't think another team will take him?
I really don't think so. After all the problems he's had in the past, think about it. He's had off-the-field problems at every team he's played for, including college.
Do you remember when he played for the Rams?
Yeah, he was voted the dirtiest player in the NFL.
Yes, and I still remember when he had the 3 personal fouls that cost the Rams the playoffs.
Who was that against, Robert?
The Dolphins.
What do you mean?
Who was that against?
Are we talking about the year that the Seahawks went to the playoffs with a losing record? Are we talking about that one?
Yes. Okay, yeah, okay. Well,
yeah, who were they playing against? The Seattle Seahawks.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
Wow. That surprises me, actually. Wow. So Richie Incognito really cost the Rams the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Wow. And that was a losing record year. That was sad for the NFC West.
I mean, it's going to be the same way with the NFC East this year.
Oh yeah, it's going to be that the NFC East just got terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, bringing that up, actually, that was an interesting year. Niners weren't good at all. That was the Michael Singletary years of the Niners. Those years being horrible, and I don't even want to remember. Oh, Jamarcus. I think that was the Jamarcus Russell era for the Raiders. The Jamarcus Russell era. I'm always going to remember that era.
Oh, my goodness.
Jamarcus Russell. I heard I heard beginning of the NFL season that he could have a job. But no, it didn't work out.
There's no way.
No way?
I don't think so, no.
No, I didn't think so either. But, the Raiders are okay. But, just looking at those years, it was really interesting. But, going back, Richie Incognito really, he has problems, but, he jokes around. but some people could take it way too far. I kind of get that. Because, I mean, you know, at my high school, like, some people can joke, but sometimes they could take it a little too far. Like, it could be personal, you know? Like, you don't... Like, you can understand, like, you can say, like, one personal thing, that's it, and you're joking about it, but when you take it, like, way too personal, then I understand that.
Yeah. And,
like, Jeremy, I want to ask you, what would be the most personal thing someone could say until you snap?
I mean, I don't know, because you saw in this situation, Richie was threatening his mom, he was threatening him, he said he would kill him. I mean, those are some words that could definitely put me over the edge.
Saying something about my mom would put me over the edge.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Saying anything about my mom would put me over the limit no matter what.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was a good talk. I gotta admit, that was one of the more interesting talks that
This is such an interesting story, man. I mean,
interesting story. You know, I gotta admit, this was a good talk, and especially having my Miami Dolphins insider Jeremy Schnell here, this was a great talk.
I mean, anytime you want me to talk Dolphins, Heat, Marlins, Panthers, whatever you need, I'm right here, Robert. You know, I'm always here.
You're always here, and you know, we're gonna let's move on from everything. Let's move on to more important things.
More important things. I think of anything more important than the Dolphins, Robert.
More important than the Dolphins? I think the Niners are more important than the Dolphins right now. Shots fired?
Maybe.
So, I want to ask you. Now, this is something today that came up in Sports Nation. The 2013 NFL MVP mid-season. And here's your options. I want to hear all your options, and this is the 10 from Sports Nation. You could pick someone outside of this, too. So let's go. This is just naming off players. This isn't the real order. Drew Brees, Jamal Charles, Matt Forte, Calvin Johnson, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, Cam Newton, Phillip Rivers, Tony Romo, and Russell Wilson. Who's your NFL MVP so far?
I mean, I'd have to go with Peyton Manning because of how great of a season he's having so far. If you're going to go by record, of course I'd pick Jamal Charles because he's having an outstanding year over there with the Chiefs. But honestly, looking at the stats that Peyton Manning has right now, it's just unreal. I mean, the guy coming off an important neck surgery 2 years ago and coming into the Broncos, everybody had questions about how well he would do. You just look at his numbers and you see that old Peyton Manning that you used to see in Indianapolis back. He's doing even better this year than any year of his career. He has 2,919 yards, 29 touchdowns this whole season so far. I mean, that's numbers that you see a quarterback make in a year, like in a whole season. This is midway through the season, and he already has 29 touchdowns and almost 3,000 yards.
You know, if I had to say right now, I have to give credit to one guy that you'll probably be surprised with the pick I'm going to make. But I really thought about this hard, and I'm going to go with Cam Newton. A man that really turned around, I think, and, you know, no one thought the Panthers would be 5-3 right now. You know, no one thought that, they're going to have a winning record so far. I really like this guy. This guy has really shown that he can throw the ball as well. So far, this season alone, he's got 13 touchdowns and has thrown for over 1,000 yards. And I think he's going to be doing more over, you know, the next weeks to come until the end of the season. Cam Newton has really shocked me. I've been watching him play a lot. And, you know, he knows how to scramble out of the pocket more. He became more of a pocket passer, and he can run the ball more efficient than he used to. And, you know, this guy hasn't really gotten injured or anything at all either. He's really stuck through being a Panther and really stuck through the starting job. That's going to be my prediction for the MVP. I know, Snow, that you're going to be arguing this, so let's hear your side.
I mean, Cam Newton's been good, but he's not MVP worthy just yet. His numbers show that he's 20th league in passing right now. At a quarterback position, you want to be higher up in the position. Here are the people who are ahead of him. Peyton Manning, for one. Let's look at other quarterbacks that you wouldn't think would be in front of Cam Newton. Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's in front of him with a losing record. Ben Roethlisberger's ahead of him with a losing record. RG3 is ahead of Cam Newton with a losing record.
RG3, are you serious?
Carson Palmer ahead of him with a losing record. And Joe Flacco. And also Eli Manning. Those are just some of the guys who are ahead of him in yards.
Okay, but look what happened last year. The Panthers weren't even that good. Now they're actually 5-3. They actually got together and actually are doing something this year.
Right, but he is tied for 11th for quarterbacks with touchdowns. I mean, that's okay. But you look at the guys who are ahead of him, they're pretty damn good.
Okay,
and,
look. Do the Panthers have much of a passing game? Like, he has to literally look for people.
Ted Ginn Jr., Steve Smith.
Steve Smith's the only big name in that. Ted Ginn came from the Niners, and all he does is return punts.
It's true.
Exactly my point. That's what I mean. So far, he hasn't done that bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the leaders in receiving, and none of those guys are in the top 40.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So,
I mean, guys like Terrence Williams are ahead of him. The whole Carolina receiving core. These guys, like,
they don't even...
I don't know. It's hard to look at and say that Cam Newton can be the MVP this far into the season so far. I mean, you look at all these other players that are much more deserving, like Jamal Charles. LaShawn McCoy has had the season. He's had 777 yards so far. You could say this for anybody. I mean, it's a lot to say that Newton has been the MVP so far this season.
All right. I go with Peyton Manning too. Peyton Manning is, but I just don't like that all these players get all these publicity, especially for Manning. I know he's having a great year. Good for him. Glad that he's done successful with the Broncos, and that he came from the Colts to the Broncos, and now he's really doing well this year. But when you look at him through this whole season, he could look amazing, and then in the playoffs, he could look a lot different.
What about Jimmy Graham?
Jimmy Graham? I gotta admit, the Saints have done a lot this year, especially their offenses look pretty strong, and that defense really changed around.
No one's really talking about the Saints right now.
Well, they did get beat by the Jets, so, I mean, that's probably why.
Jimmy Graham has 10 touchdowns and over 700 yards. And for yards a game, he has just about 100 yards per game. It's pretty remarkable what he's doing right now, the numbers that he's putting up. He has 10 touchdowns. That's the most in the NFL as a receiver. The only person that's behind him is Wes Welker at 9. I mean, Jimmy Graham is really carrying his team when it comes to receiving right now.
Jimmy Graham's probably, I consider, the best tight end in the game because, I mean, he just does a lot. But, looking at tight ends this year, I don't see a lot of good tight ends. I don't see any elite tight ends. All I see, and I'm going to bring up Vernon Davis. It's like between Vernon Davis and Jimmy Graham, I think, in that category. Because
Jordan Cameron.
Okay, Jordan Cameron. Okay, that's
Julius
a good
one.
Thomas. He's been not as consistent. But also Vernon Davis has had some of those weeks, but he'll usually get a touchdown every week.
Antonio Gates.
Yeah, he's carried his team a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but he only has 2 touchdowns, so.
Yeah, that's true, but he catches a lot.
You were talking about Vernon Davis. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. 7 touchdowns so far this season. Over 500 yards, it's pretty good, but you'd like to see him do a little bit more in that San Francisco passing game, wouldn't you, Robert?
Oh, yes. That is probably the worst category they have right now. Anquan Bolden is actually keeping them alive in that. Kyle Williams is going to be probably done. I hope he's gone. I hope Kyle Williams goes away and doesn't ever come back to the NFL. He's been a disgrace to the Niners ever since 2010. I don't know why we still have him. Crabtree and Manningham will come back, and Kyle Williams will be done.
You need someone to fill the role right now, don't you?
Yes, we need Crabtree and Manningham back. That's all I gotta say.
You would like Moss back right about now, wouldn't you?
Moss?
Yeah.
He barely did anything. He didn't do anything. He was just old. He just was there for experience. That's why the Niners wanted him. But I'm going to go to this. Now, when Crabtree comes back, he will be playing against the Seahawks or the Rams. He'll be coming back one of those weeks. And I know the Seahawks are going to be getting back, one of their elite wide receivers.
Percy Harvin.
Yep. And when is he supposed to be coming back, Jeremy?
The timetable's unclear right now. He's been cleared to play by the doctors, but the team is still holding him back a little bit.
But when do you think he's going to maybe make a surprise turn?
I don't think this week. It's not likely that he returns this week. Coming from Pete Carroll is the source that I'm getting that from, and maybe week 11, maybe week 12. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. And San Francisco, or he won't come back week 12 because that's a bye week. But San Francisco in week 14 is, I think, a realistic timetable for Percy Harvin to return.
And that'll be a good game. I look at both.
Definitely.
All these schedules are a little bit tough. I mean, the Niners do play the Panthers, which they've been kind of a hot team right now, and then they play the Saints, and then they play the Seahawks. Those are the only three big games that I see them so far in the second half.
I mean, Seattle only has, they only have 3 away games left this season, and they finished the season off at home against Arizona and St. Louis, so I think that's going to be key for them to move into the playoffs. But as long as they get Percy Harvin back by week 14, I don't see anybody stopping that offense.
We'll see what happens. It'll be really interesting.
Definitely.
It'll be a good game. I can't wait for the Niners Seahawks at SF. Can't wait for that game.
You gonna be covering that, Robert?
I will be covering that game, no doubt. I will be covering that game for a long time. So, but this NFC West, man, it's been a good one. I can't believe it's gonna be this competitive now. But you also have to understand the Seahawks could not play like they did against the Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I mean, yeah, they've had a little setback, but their bye week's coming up in a couple of weeks, so I think they'll be fine.
Okay, but I want to ask you, reviewing the last 2 weeks of the Seahawks, what do you think of their performance?
It's unacceptable.
Exactly, but you still pulled off wins.
Yeah, 4 in a row.
Niners are 5, they've been on a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah, but they've lost 2 games. That's unacceptable, Robert.
Okay, they lost to the Seahawks at
this
Seattle.
NFC West, that is unacceptable. Go talk to your players, Robert. Go fire them up.
Go fire them up. Okay. I've been, Steven has this passionate hate for Colin Kaepernick.
I hate him too.
What's wrong with you people?
Does Isaac. We all hate him.
You all hate Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, he's got a bad attitude. I hate him.
He doesn't have a bad attitude.
Yes, he does. He's a horrible person. He's a horrible human being.
So what if Alex Smith was on the team?
I'd like the Niners if Alex Smith was still on the team.
What do you think of him when he was on the Niners?
I don't like Alex Smith.
There we go. See?
Listen to me.
Let's pull it out of you. I had to pull that out. I had to literally get a rope and pull that out of you.
Listen to why I don't like Alex Smith. It's because he's the king of the checkdowns. He refuses to throw the ball down the field. He just dumps it off to Jamal Charles and just says, "Okay, now you go take the ball and run with it." Like, what? Jamal Charles is the leading receiver on that team.
So you could play football and not even throw to your best wide receivers.
Dwayne Bowe has had a bad season just because he doesn't get thrown to.
That's true, he doesn't. He hasn't really gotten much fantasy points either. He's been actually more of a disappointment.
Yeah.
But, okay, Alex Smith, he was, he didn't really throw far for SF either, though. It wasn't good. He wasn't really good for the Niners until...
Yeah, but he used those receivers to his advantage.
He could. But you could also play the game of football by just running the ball the whole time if their D-line stinks.
That is true.
You can use that as advantage. Okay, this is what my friend told me a while back. You could actually just play football like just running the whole time. It's boring. It's not interesting. You just run the ball the whole time. You can get like 3 different running backs just to run. And you can just get linemen and tight ends to play. You could do that.
That's true. I mean, but it wouldn't be as fun, and...
What would the corners do? They can't really do anything because they're not going against
exactly,
wide receivers.
But still, there'll always be those fumbles and tackles for losses. Then you're gonna have to throw. Football's a game where you have to throw the ball. It happens.
Yeah, but running backs are more important in this league. On 4th and 1, are you really gonna trust? I'd rather give it to my running back than pass it.
All right, listen to this receiving. This is the receiving for the Chiefs right now. Donnie Avery is leading the receiving core of the Chiefs with 396 yards, and then Jamal Charles is right behind him with 389 yards. 396 for Donnie Avery and 389 for Jamal Charles.
Okay.
That's receiving. Jamal Charles is a running back. His yards after catch is what's making it so that he has 358 yards after catch.
I mean, okay, look at other team situations, though.
No, listen to this. 358 yards after catch. He has 389 in all receiving yards.
That's pretty bad, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Smith, I could stand in that pocket and dump it off to Jamal Charles and tell him, just run with it. You could do that. You could do that, right?
Yeah, I could. You just do that. Just like, hey, take the ball the whole time.
I mean, just show me that you can actually throw the ball. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could... Colin Kaepernick, though, I mean, the Niners actually handed off to Frank Gore a lot. Now, when you actually really think about it, Gore has really been the man there. Because, I mean, he's been bringing the load for the Niners.
Yeah, but you look... I don't know. Frank Gore is not really having that good of a year.
He's having a good year. He's not having the best, but he's just having a good year. He's coming up big when we need him to.
That is true.
He's came up at good times when you need someone. That's what you rely on your running backs for. Yeah, Marshawn Lynch could come up for you in big moments too. What was it, on 4th and 1? Marshawn Lynch could probably, get that first down for you. Gore does that sometimes because the Niners do go for it on like 4th and 1 now. A lot more than they used to. Jim Harbaugh is just doing that now. I don't know what Pete Carroll thinks when you're down 21-0 and they come back.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Gore, he's been pretty good. He has 7 touchdowns this year, 618 yards. That's pretty good.
He's on a big load. Also,
yeah, but you look at the rushing leaders on that team. Who's the second best runner on that team?
Kaepernick.
Yeah.
He doesn't run the ball as much, though. I mean...
I feel like he does, though, and you just don't notice it. Because sometimes I look at the box score and I'll see that Kaepernick was the leading rusher in that game. I'll see that.
Yeah, he was, in one game so far.
In a couple of games.
In a couple.
Yeah.
I saw more of Gore, but it just depends. I mean, the running game's not there. It's not there today. Mm-hmm. I mean, it depends what team you go against. Panthers... The Panthers are going to be competitive. I can't wait for that defense to... The defense is going to put a good stop on that run.
Yeah.
that Panthers defense has improved this year, like, big. They made some big changes, and they decided to do something this year.
Yeah, so, you want to move on from this little discussion that we had here?
You want to? Are you sure? I mean, yeah, we'll move on. Let's go to the Saints. I know we talked about it a little bit briefly, but let's go on to it. Jonathan Vilma's comeback is short-lived. Done for the season for the Saints. Darren Sproles is coming back. Pierre Thomas had to take the role for the Saints. Let's go to you, Jeremy. What do you think of Jonathan Vilma not coming back?
That's a huge blow for the Saints team. Even though they've played pretty well without him so far, I mean, their defense really needs him on at that linebacker position, and it's going to be a huge blow for that team.
I always enjoyed watching Jonathan Vilma, especially. He has some big-time tackles. And this defense, you think that they're really explosive now. I think Vilma, that you just lost like a huge big key right there. He's your captain of that defense, and he's a big dude. He scares some people. I gotta admit, if I was the running back and I would go against it, I would be scared. But you have to be careful. I think the middle linebackers in this era for NFL have been pretty good.
You look at the, I mean, this team's defense isn't as good as you think it would be. They have had a couple of good weeks, but like last week against the Jets, they played terribly. They lost 26-20 and gave up 139s on the ground.
This defense used to be horrible. I know last year they weren't even that good. Last year I was disappointed in the Saints. They got everything back. They got their head coach back. All the suspensions were done. Boom, you get your whole team back, and now you're on a roll. And that loss, though, to the Jets was disappointing. I thought that the Saints would pull off something, but this Jets team. Let's go to the Jets. I want to go to the Jets because this Jets team has really stood out to me this year. Geno Smith has so far been really exceptional this year, especially with not having as much targets. He still managed to get this team wins. And so far, the ownership, Rex Ryan, they've been pleased with Rex Ryan this year. And let's go to an if situation. I don't like these if situations, but I want to bring this up. If Mark Sanchez was the starting QB for the Jets, Jeremy, where would the Jets be right now?
They would be hoping for that number one pick. They would be fighting and scratching for that number one pick against Jacksonville.
Ooh. That's a good point. I gotta agree with you on that because I just don't know where this Jets team would be right now. And this Jets...
Look at the numbers. Passing yards. 26th in the league. Somehow they pulled out the win. Rushing yards. 11th in the league.
That's not bad.
Opponents' passing yards. Their pass defense is really good. Their opponents' passing yards. Okay, so that's good. But their opponents' rushing yards. They gave up. They're the number one rushing defense in the league.
73.8. Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazing. And that's what really stands out to this defense. This defense is really doing well this year, and I was a little confused in the beginning that I didn't really think that it was really gonna happen. But you look at the rushing so far this year for this team. Bilal Powell and Chris Ivory have so far really carried the load for both of these guys. They've been really keeping the carries between each other, and Powell so far has averaged 3.8 yards per carry, and Ivory 4 yards per carry. And Jeremy, what do you think of their wide receivers? They're not even known names in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been Geno Smith keeping the play alive, really.
He's got 8 touchdowns this year. That's not bad. Mm-hmm. It's not bad for the rookie. He had this guy's becoming more promising. You look at the wins over Tampa Bay. That wasn't the best. No one thought that it was going to be that. Everyone thought actually Tampa Bay was going to beat the Jets. They didn't. You see where Tampa Bay is now. Second game, New England. Tough game, but, New England came up with it. Beat Buffalo. Lost to Tennessee pretty bad. And then beat Atlanta by 2. And they beat Buffalo by a touchdown. Lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers 19-6 on a big win there. I mean, that was sort of a big loss. Not a huge one, still big. Beating New England was pretty good, winning by 3. And then you look at the 49-9. It seems like the Jets can get smoked sometimes, because especially so far twice this season against Tennessee and Cincinnati, they really got blown out. And then when you go against New Orleans, they won 26-20. What do you think of this Jets team? Like, what do you think the strong suits are? I mean, you already pointed them out. But, I mean, what do you think of the offense and the defense? Who really stands out as player-wise?
Here is why the Jets are not a good team. Their plus-minus, which is giveaways to takeaways, is -11. Or -10, excuse me. That's one of the worst in the league. They're worse than Jacksonville in the plus-minus department. That is why they are not a good team, Robert.
That's why they're not a good team. I don't think they're a bad team.
Because they give the ball away.
Okay, they do give the ball away. They still manage to keep the win. It's by close. I mean, so far they've won a game by 3.
It will not stay like that.
Okay, look, they've won a game 3 points or less 3 times.
If they were in the NFC, they would be second to last in the league, like right in front of the Giants.
That's true. That's true. This team managed to really stay within and keep their hopes alive.
Listen.
Okay, I'm listening.
The Jets are not good.
Jets are not good?
And it will show when the Dolphins play them on December 1st. Mark your calendar, guys. December 1st, Dolphins versus Jets. That'll be a good one, guys. Don't forget to watch it.
I'll probably watch that game just for you. I'll watch that game just for you.
That means a lot to me, Robert.
That does mean a lot. I really want to talk about the NFC East. We talked about it. Let's go with the best team in the NFC East. Let's go you, Jeremy. I know this could be a little tough one, actually. But which team do you think is the best?
It's obviously the Cowboys.
Dallas.
Yeah, they're obviously the best team in the league at the moment. Or, excuse me, best team in that division.
Whoa, we're going a little too far.
But yeah,
we're going a little too far.
I don't like the Cowboys, so.
You're supporting America's team right there.
Yeah, that's not something I was proud to say. That didn't come out of my mouth. Don't worry. Anyway, Philadelphia is 1 game behind Dallas. I mean, just to say that and to see how bad Philadelphia has been, it's astonishing.
I gotta give credit to Nick Foles though for 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Okay, but you're gonna argue saying, "Oh, they're the Raiders." I know the Raiders stink. It still makes it look good. Any game against any team is, even if it's like a milestone, is still good. Like you look at, being Jacksonville is still a win. You still get a win. Maybe it's an easy win, but it's still a win. How about when Matt Cain threw a perfect game against the Astros, the worst team in the whole league? But it's still a milestone. It's still memorable. People remember that moment.
That's true. But you look at the point differential for all these teams. The only team with a plus point differential is Dallas. And then the rest of the teams. Here's the rest of the teams' point differentials. Philadelphia, Washington, -50. And the Giants, -82.
Man, you're beating up on Miles Walker's Giants.
I like the Giants. That's one of my teams. I like the Giants a lot.
Beating up on Seuss and Miles Walker here.
My bad, Miles. Just know that the Giants they're gonna make a comeback. They're only 3 games out. It'll be fine.
Only 3 games out.
In this bad division, man.
In this bad one. Dallas gets to go play the Raiders. That's
going to be a tough one. I think the Raiders are actually one of those teams that can be good one week and then bad the next, and I think they'll give the Cowboys a fight this week.
I think they need once the Oakland Raiders get a strong start in that first half, they can win the game. That's what I kind of see them as, but I don't consider the Raiders even a good team right now.
We're talking about the Giants here.
Oh, we're talking about the Giants. Okay, Giants.
The Giants have to play the Raiders this week. That's what I was confused. I thought you meant like Dallas has to go play the Raiders. No, Giants.
No, they got a while.
Yeah, week 13, Dallas plays the Raiders in Oakland. You're over there in the Bay Area. Give me the state of the Raiders right now.
The Raiders. The Raiders are a team that I believe would say that they're still not very good offensively or defensively in that case. Darren McFadden is never healthy. Never healthy. Rashad Jennings he's kind of just there, but they're not really consistent. And also, just looking at this year, Terrell Pryor hasn't really been the passing type of guy. I know he broke the record for, the rushing touchdown by a QB, 94-yarder. But so far, this Raiders team, they come explosive in the first half, but that second half is where they really struggle. They just can't bounce back. And Terrell Pryor threw 2 picks and no touchdowns. And he'll do that sometimes, and I don't like when he does that. He can't really throw the passing touchdown. He's not good in the red zone. The red zone, he's really got to improve. That's where the Raiders really got to improve on. The red zone is where they really do struggle.
Yeah, let's talk about one of these surprise teams so far in the NFL. San Diego
teams.
Chargers.
The Chargers.
The Chargers. Man, they've surprised a lot of people with the way they played this year. They beat Indianapolis on Monday night, 19-9. And they also beat Dallas. They beat Philadelphia. So what do you think? What do you think's gonna be when it's all said and done? Do you think San Diego gets that last wild card spot?
I'm still a little confused on this team. This team could be good at sometimes and sometimes could be bad because they should have beat the Redskins, and that was bad coaching, by the way. That was bad coaching because usually running the ball in the red zone, like their running game in the red zone is one of their more stronger games. Instead, they try to throw to Keenan Allen and it doesn't work. I would think that, the Chargers would think of something a little bit, I thought they would be smarter in the coaching. That's what they really have to work on, but besides that, their passing game's been phenomenal. Antonio Gates, as you said, has been really carrying this team. He's averaged 11 yards per catch and has 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen with 3 touchdowns, averaging 15 yards a catch. But I really do like this. I really do like the Chargers. This Chargers team will surprise you every week. So far, their wins, as you said, I think the most notable one is the Colts winning 19-9 was a big one, and their defense can come up big. I really do like this defense this year. I believe this defense has improved since the last couple of years. And they go against Denver, Miami, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and those are going to be tough games right there. You look at those tough 4 games, Week 10, 11, 12, and 13. Those will be all tough, and they're going against Denver. I hope that they can get a big win against Denver. I think this team can maybe pull one out because they are at home, which helps. And then they're away against Miami and Kansas City. I know, Snell, you're going to be covering that one. Chargers and Dolphins. I really do like this team, though. I'll tell you, I really do like this team.
Yeah, something that Jason Gerline always says at sports broadcasting camp. He always talks about that stadium the Chargers has, doesn't he?
He does. It's not the best.
How bad it is.
How bad it is.
He just wants a team down there, or up there in Los Angeles.
He does. That's why you gotta live in SF, or you got the Niners, you got the Warriors, you got the Sharks, you got the Giants, you got the A's, you got the Raiders, you got the
Raiders.
You got the SaberCats, San Jose Earthquakes, you got everything here.
Yeah, but the Earthquakes suck.
Okay, that's true, but besides that, I mean, you got every entertainment.
Sounders would beat them any day, man.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, you're cool. Talking some smack.
Oh, don't forget to watch, everybody, don't forget to watch Thursday night, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, Seattle Sounders versus Portland Timbers. Sounders down 2-1 on aggregate right now. Need to score 2 goals to move on to the next round.
Wait, aren't we forgetting Thursday? Stanford versus Oregon?
Oh my God, no.
At Stanford?
Seattle playoffs. We're talking about playoffs, man. Playoffs. Seattle Sounders. Watch
Oh,
that game. Don't watch.
jeez.
Don't
People
watch
like
that,
watching college football. Okay, actually, let's make that. I'm gonna actually change my statement on that. People are starting to watch soccer more.
It's true. I'm doing this piece on at school. We have a TV production. I'm doing this piece. I'm doing it on soccer to Miami. They're trying to bring the MLS to Miami, and I really want them to do that so that I can get season tickets and see the Sounders at least once a year.
That would be cool. I think you would enjoy it.
David Beckham's trying to get that team down here. $25 million investment he's trying to make. So we'll see how that works out.
We'll see how it works out. But I mean, going to that point there, soccer has become a bigger sport. My favorite team is Manchester United. Man U.
Yeah, of course. Whatever.
I don't like MLS teams. I'm just letting you know. I mean, MLS.
The sport is definitely great. Hey, everybody, go YouTube. Go to YouTube and look up Seattle Sounders fan section. Just go Seattle Sounders fans. Just look it up and you'll be amazed. If you ever have a chance to go to a Seattle Sounders game or a Portland Timbers game or Kansas City, the Sporting KC game, go, because you'll say, oh my gosh, I want to come back to one, because it's one of those atmospheres that you would see over in Europe, and you want to be a part of something like that.
Soccer has really grown, and you really do want to check out any soccer event. Because I mean, in soccer, I went to one Earthquake game, and it was fun and everything, but I don't know, I'm just not much of the MLS guy. I'm not really into that. I'm into the European life. So, by the way, if you want to call in, 650-678-7127 for any final words and comments, it would be great. It would be greatly appreciated if you could call in and give us your opinion about anything, because me and Jeremy have really just talked about anything at this point. Anything that just pops into our heads, and that's what really makes the show, Jeremy.
It really does. We can go any which way on any conversation. I mean, we were talking about football one moment just a second ago, and then we're talking about the other football.
You know what I really want to get to that we haven't got to yet?
The Warriors.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say basketball in general, but that's okay too. Let's go to some.
Going to talk about the Warriors some point.
Well, I do, but I mean, I'm not gonna be obsessed about it. I know you want to talk about your Heat too.
Yes, let's talk about. You go first. Let's hear about your Warriors. Your 3-1 Warriors facing the Timberwolves tonight at 8:00.
Ooh, I'm gonna be watching that game tonight, of course. The Warriors have really, they haven't done that bad. Their starting five is really impressive, because I don't think if the Warriors improved on that starting five, I don't know where we'd be right now. Harrison Barnes is hurt. Jermaine O'Neal hasn't played yet. And Festus Ezeli's hurt, but when you look at the starting five, you got Curry, Thompson, Iguodala, Lee, and Andrew Bogut. I think that's one of the best starting five in the NBA so far. And so far, Andre Iguodala is turning into a three-point shooter. He is going to be turning against the 76ers, where that was his original team. He had a 32-point night. I can't wait for this Warriors team to go off. Klay Thompson so far is leading in points, though.
I was just about to say that.
Klay Thompson's the man. Man, this guy
really
can
is.
shoot. His pick and roll has been pretty well, too, but Andre Iguodala, he didn't really do much the first two games, then he kind of showed us something like, whoa, you can actually shoot threes. Whoa.
Yes, but to talk about my Miami Heat here for a second.
Let's go to Miami. I actually want to hear about your Heat.
The first game of the season, it was great to watch. The Heat played really well. They beat up on those guys over there in Chicago, and I don't like Derrick Rose. Fair warning for all you Derrick Rose fans: I will never stick up for Derrick Rose, no matter what he says. I will always hate him. Anyway, Dwayne Wade has played pretty well this season, but of course the reigning MVP, LeBron James, he's really played well this year, leading the Heat in 2 out of 5 categories right now, leading them in points and assists, and he's just behind Chris Bosh in rebounds right now. But Mario Chalmers has also really stepped up his game this year, averaging at least 10 points a game this year, which is pretty remarkable because in the past he hasn't really averaged that many points, and it's fun to see because you always want if Mario Chalmers is doing well in a game, you know one of the big three is doing well also. So it's always good to see Mario do well.
And your team has, you lost some players, but so far...
No, this is the deepest team that the Heat have ever had.
This is the deepest team.
Ever.
All right, I can't...
History. That's my opinion right now.
What's up with Michael Beasley?
Michael Beasley, they're working him back in very slowly because they want him to see what their system is like, and I feel like he'll be a starter by the All-Star break, in my opinion.
I can't wait because Beasley's such an explosive player when he comes off that bench. I think he could really keep the tempo up for the Miami Heat.
Yeah, he played a little bit yesterday in yesterday's game. He played 4 minutes. He played pretty well, 6 points, 2 for 3 in 3-point shooting. So that's good to see from Michael Beasley shooting the threes because that's what you want if you're a Heat fan. You want to see Beasley shooting the threes because LeBron will drive to the basket and he'll be wide open in the corner because you see Bosh always spotting up in the corner. Everybody's like, no, Bosh, want that. Yeah, no, but you want that with Michael Beasley.
And we're just talking about the Heat and Warriors here, but when I go to the Warriors so far, 3-1, 1-1 on the road. They have a 4-game road trip right now going against T-Wolves. The T-Wolves are going to be a good team, and they're going to be at home tonight. So they are 2-0 at home. So this is going to be a well matched up game. Kevin Love is the man to stop for the T-Wolves. Ricky Rubio also, but Kevin Martin has had a pretty good season. He can really get some good points for the team. And we're going to give you some scoring updates. As the Raptors play the Charlotte Bobcats, that's 27-16 Bobcats. The Pacers lead the Bulls 17-11. Thank you, Pacers. Let's go with the Magic as they're being the Clippers 25-16. Come on, Clips. And let's go with there's also one more game, the Wizards and the 76ers. 39-27 is your score in that one. Wizards are up, and so far Wizards haven't had a win yet, so maybe their first win tonight.
Who's winning?
The Wizards.
Oh, the Wizards are winning? What?
Yeah, let's go Wizards. Let's go John Wall, part of that fantasy basketball.
And tomorrow night, the Heat are playing the Clippers tomorrow night. The Clippers come into town to play the Heat in the American Airlines Arena tomorrow night. That'll be fun to watch. I think it'll be on TNT tomorrow night, so everybody watch that one. And also this weekend, the Heat play on Saturday at home against those Boston Celtics. That used to be a good game when the Celtics were good, but now they're bad.
I'm gonna, this has been such a good show, and we're gonna have to end it.
On the note of the Celtics being bad.
The notice on the Celtics being bad. Poor Cameron Sadeghi.
0-4.
0-4. I know. I didn't really expect the Celtics to do that well, but Cameron didn't think either. I want to thank you, Jeremy Schnell, for being on my show, and any final thoughts before you go?
Hopefully the Dolphins get everything sorted out over there in Davie, Florida.
Let's hope so. Richie Incognito probably doesn't deserve as much as he does, but we also need to know the full story before anything happens. By the way, follow us on Facebook, Twitter. Also, you can also watch us on YouTube, SoundCloud, everything. Check us out. Also, Spreaker.com. Please follow us. And if you ever want to be a part of National Sports, check out our Facebook page, National Sports Network, as we're going to keep on. We want to expand more and more people, and so far everybody's been really helping out over the followers. We have really improved. And I want to thank all of you for listening. who was ever part of the Deits Sports Talk. I'm Robert Dieters,
I'm Jeremy Schnell.
and thank you for listening.